Welcome, everyone. I'm Bob DiStefano, president of SVM eMarketing Solutions. We're an industrial marketing agency that helps manufacturers and distributors generate more leads, sales, and profits online. And I want to welcome you to today's masterclass. Your website is costing you sales, how to fix it fast without a redesign. Now, I created this masterclass because this is probably the most asked question that I get. People want to know how they can make their website more effective so that they can generate more leads and sales. So they want to know what are those most important elements that they should be focusing on. And also, they're not necessarily ready for a complete redesign. They want to know the impactful areas that they can start working on their existing website to start generating more business. So in today's webinar, I'm going to go through a number of best practices, a number of tips, some ways that you can evaluate your own online presence so that you can identify and fix the key areas that will help you generate more leads and sales online. Now, to make sure that everyone is in the right place, you are in the right place if you're an industrial distributor or manufacturer and you are frustrated by your website's low lead generation and conversion rates. You know that your website should be your top salesperson, working for you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, but right now, it may not be working as well as it could be, and it's losing leads to your competitors. You're here to get clear, immediate website fixes that don't require expensive or lengthy redesigns. You need a straightforward, actionable roadmap that you can follow that's not too complicated with technical theory. You want practical information you can put to work immediately, and you're ready to make a change and take meaningful steps. Now, if you are thinking that your website is not performing as well as it should be, or maybe not performing as well as it used to in the past, it's probably because the B2B buyer has changed its behavior in terms of how it finds, researches, and procures products. There are a number of statistics I want to go over very quickly. First is that people are going online to make purchasing decisions before they want to talk with a salesperson. According to research, 94% of B2B buyers research online before making a purchasing decision. So before they even speak with your salespeople, they already are a pretty far ways along in their buying journey. So you need to make sure that your website is answering those key questions. Next, 44% of B2B buyers only engage with suppliers that offer personalized, relevant content. They want to make sure that your website and your content is speaking to them and to their needs and to the problems that they're looking to solve. So you can't have a website that serves everybody. You need to be very specific on the niche audiences that you serve and provide solutions to their problems. And then finally, 88% of customers are less likely to return to a website if they have a bad experience. So if your website is not your best foot forward, if it's not the best representation of what your company has to offer, you are at a disadvantage. So if you're in that boat, you are experiencing a number of common frustrations that we're going to address today. You're not generating enough inbound leads. Your conversion rates are low, and you may be losing out on business to your competitors. These are all key problems that you may be experiencing that I'm going to help you resolve today. So this is our game plan. First, I'm going to go through 5 critical website mistakes that may be costing you leads and sales. So these are the key areas, the most important areas that you should be focusing on, and the quick fixes that you can put in place to improve your lead generation and online sales capabilities. Then I'm going to do a deep dive specifically into your website's homepage. Your homepage is your website's welcome mat, so I want to help you identify and repair the key fixes that will help you convert more visitors into buyers. Then I'm going to talk about the calls to action that convert, how you can create more calls to action that convert more leads and sales. content on your website, how you can create content that get found and generate leads. And most importantly, I'm going to answer your toughest marketing questions. So throughout this presentation, please feel free to enter any of your questions into the Q&A box, and we will be addressing these questions at the end of the webinar. Very good. So let's dig in. So we'll start with the 5 critical website mistakes that are costing you leads and sales. So there is a cost associated with having an ineffective website. A lot of people think of the cost of creating a new website, but they don't realize there is a cost with just keeping your existing website if it's not performing well for you, if it's ineffective. Well, the cost is you're losing out on new business opportunities. You are losing leads. Potential buyers are leaving without taking action, and you're losing revenue opportunities on a daily basis. Your conversion rates may be directly impacting your sales growth because they are extremely poor, which put you at a competitive disadvantage. Your competitors, if they are offering a better online experience, they're going to be capturing more customers than you are. So we want to make sure that you are addressing those key areas that you need to fix so you can generate more leads online. So let's dig in. So these are the top 5 critical mistakes that most companies are making that are sinking their leads and sales. First is their navigation is overly confusing. Second, they have a weak or unclear value proposition. Third, they have ineffective calls to action. Fourth, their content is not aligned with customer needs. And maybe they have poor lead capture mechanisms. So we're going to take a deep dive into each of these to identify how you can see if you have problems in these areas and specifically what you should be doing to fix them. Okay, so for website mistake number 1, confusing navigation. What this means is that your website is extremely hard to navigate and very hard for people to find the information that they're looking for. People have limited time. They're on your website to find a solution, to solve a problem, to take that next step in some way. So you want to make it extremely easy for them to find what they're looking for and take that next step. Now, I want to show you this example of O'Reilly Auto Parts. This is their old website. As you can see here, the navigation is extremely confusing. So many options that are available. The very long category navigation that's down the left, primary navigation along the type, and then you can browse their brands numerically and alphabetically. Very, very confusing, way too many options. So what you want to do is make sure that you are offering navigation that is very clear. How do you know if you have confusing navigation? Well, take a look at your Google Analytics or any analytics package that you have. If you have a high bounce rate, what that means is that visitors are leaving without exploring multiple pages on your site. Also, take a look at how much time they're spending on the site. If they're only spending seconds instead of an extended period of time, visitors are not engaging with your content. They're not finding what they're looking for. Or perhaps you have overloaded menus like O'Reilly does on their old site here. Just way too many choices that are causing decision fatigue, and you're losing out on new business opportunities. If people need to use the back button in their browser frequently, that is an indication that they are probably frustrated. They can't find what they're looking for. They're going back to the main page on your site. If they need to use that as a navigation method because they're lost, you need to fix it. And maybe your navigation is inconsistent across devices, both desktop and mobile. You need to understand that people are not sitting in front of a computer when they are viewing your website necessarily. Many times they are accessing it from a mobile device, from their smartphone, from a tablet. So you need to make sure that your navigation works very well across all those devices. So these are the symptoms. What's the cure? Well, here are the quick fixes that I recommend. And as you can see here, O'Reilly has put these into action on their new website. First is you want to simplify the menu. Your navigation, your primary navigation really should be reduced to the top 5 to 7 core choices or core options that will allow people to find what they're looking for. You don't want to offer too many. You want to make it boil down to just the key areas. You want to use clear and familiar wording. Don't use jargon. Don't use internal company speak or unclear labels when you are defining certain information. Make sure you're using the phrases that your customers use most often, and especially in your navigation. You don't want to make people look at a navigation item and be confused as to what they'll find if they click it. You want to make sure that you're guiding your visitors to the appropriate pages in your site by providing a logical flow. As people are engaging, as they are learning more, you want to take them ultimately towards a conversion page. A conversion page is a page that is optimized to get anonymous visitors to reach out to you. If it's an e-commerce site, to place an order. If it's a lead generation site, it's to give up their basic contact information, pick up the phone and call you, initiate an online chat. So you want to make sure that you're providing a nice flow to get your visitors to those pages. Use a sticky navigation bar. And what that means is the navigation elements, the logo at the top of your browser, they are always staying consistent. So as people are scrolling down pages, that navigation is staying consistent at the top and makes it easier for people to find what they're looking for. And as I mentioned before, people are using their mobile devices when they're viewing your site, so you want to make sure, take a mobile first approach. Make sure your site is designed well for mobile. If it works well on mobile, it's easier for you to make those fixes on desktop. So you can have a great website that will work well no matter how people are accessing your site. Okay, so here's a self-assessment that I want you to perform on your navigation to see if it is confusing, if you should fix it. Can visitors find what they need in 3 clicks or less? Ideally, that's the path that we want them to follow, 3 clicks or less. Is your menu simple and is it clearly labeled? Are you not using jargon or company speak? Do the key pages on your site, when I'm referring to key pages, these are what you're selling, your products, your services. Do they have obvious paths from the homepage so that we can get people over there as quickly as possible? Is your navigation consistent across desktop and mobile? Take a look at your website from a desktop computer, then open it up in your mobile device. Is it easy for you to navigate? If it's not, you have an issue you need to address. And does your site have a search bar for quick access to content? The search bar is the navigation item of last resort, I should say. So you want to make sure that you're offering that so people can quickly find what it is that they're looking for. Okay, that's mistake number 1. Let's move on to number 2, a weak or unclear value proposition. People want to know what you stand for. People want to know how you can help them, and you need to have a strong value proposition that speaks directly to their needs. If you have a weak value proposition, you're not focusing on customer-focused benefits. Your messaging talks more about your company and not about the problems that your companies are trying to solve. For example, here we have a very poor value proposition. We provide high-quality industrial equipment solutions for businesses of all sizes. It's a very egocentric value proposition. It's about we and what we do. It's not about the customer and what the customer's problems are and how you solve them. So you want to make sure that you have a customer-focused value proposition. If visitors leave without taking action, they probably don't know what you stand for. They don't know the value that you're providing. So again, look at your analytics, and if people are not engaging and staying on your site, that could be a problem with your value proposition. Unclear messaging above the fold. Above the fold is what you see on a website before you start scrolling. Your value proposition needs to jump out at people in that header. You need to make sure that you're communicating very quickly and easily what it is you stand for and how you can help them. If you have low engagement on key pages, the products and service pages within your site, visitors are not clicking deeper, there's a problem. The value proposition is not being communicated. or if your language is very vague or generic and does not speak specifically to the problems that your customers are trying to solve, it doesn't differentiate you from your competitors. It doesn't provide what customers are looking for, and they will not engage. So what are the quick fixes? Well, craft a strong headline that you're going to present in that hero section at the top of the top above the fold in the website browser. So here's an example of a better value proposition that speaks to the customer's needs, problems, and how this company can help. Reduce downtime and increase efficiency with our precision engineered industrial pumps, trusted by leading manufacturers for over 25 years. This communicates to the customer what problems you solve, why they should be working with you, and what credibility you have. So you want to make sure that you are highlighting those key benefits up front and answer what's in it for me from a customer standpoint immediately and throughout the language on your site. Make sure that you're using customer-focused language and not company-focused language. You want to focus on how you solve their problems. Take a look at your website's content. How many times do you use the word we or our or your company's name? If you're using those words more than you are using your customer's language, then you have an egocentric website, in my opinion. You don't want an egocentric website. You want a website that's customer focused, that speaks specifically to their needs. Next, below the strong headline, you want a subheadline. The subheadline will reinforce your value proposition with a supporting statement. And if you're unsure of what value proposition resonates most with your customers, what I recommend that you do is conduct A/B tests with the headlines and messaging. What an A/B test allows you to do is present two different versions of any website page to visitors as they're taking a look at your site, and it will keep track of their activity. During that test, both pages will be shown randomly. And at the end of the test, you will know which value proposition is the strongest. So A/B testing is extremely effective for testing your value proposition as well as other key elements of your website to improve lead generation and conversions. So here is your self-assessment for your value proposition. Can visitors understand what you do in 5 seconds? And I mean it, 5 seconds, just by glancing at the key information above the fold. Can they clearly understand the problems you solve and why you're the best company to work with? Does your headline clearly communicate the benefits that you're providing to customers? Does your value proposition highlight those benefits? Does your homepage explain why you're better than your competitors? And does your messaging avoid vague and generic statements? If you are committing any of these issues, then you want to address them leveraging the quick fixes that I just described. Okay, mistake number 3 for websites: ineffective calls to action. These are extremely important. The calls to action are the carrots that you're dangling in front of prospects to convert those anonymous visitors into named leads for your sales process. So you need to make sure these are extremely effective. Some symptoms of ineffective ones are your conversion rates are low, meaning that people are visiting pages, but nobody's reaching out to you. They're not filling out forms. They're not picking up the phone and calling. They're not initiating an online chat. They're not placing an order online. If visitors are not taking that desired action, you have an issue with your calls to action. Perhaps your calls to action are just blending in, and that's why people aren't taking advantage of it. You want to make sure that they're standing out and they're obvious that people could take that next step. Perhaps you're using unclear or generic text, like in our example here. Learn more is a useless call to action. You want to use more specific phrases that are related to the action that you're looking for the prospect to take or that they would want to take. So make sure you're including those action-oriented phrases in your calls to action. Maybe you have too many. Maybe there's too many options and visitors are getting confused. Your prospects are unsure. What's the best next step based on what I'm looking to accomplish? Or perhaps there's just no urgency. There's no reason for visitors to act now. All of these are symptoms of ineffective calls to action. The fixes that you can put in place, like I said before, use action-driven language. Get your free quote instead of things like submit, learn more. Examples on the right here. Subscribe now for a newsletter, request a quote, order now, download guide. These calls to action speak to the action that the customer is looking to take and the action that you want them to take. These are more compelling because they are speaking to that action. Also, as you can notice here, they are colorful. They stand out. You want to make sure that you're using contrasting colors and larger buttons so that they don't blend into the page and they don't get lost. You want to place your calls to action strategically throughout any website page. You don't want to rely on just having a contact us navigation at the top. You want to place calls to action strategically throughout your website pages in context for whatever that page is talking about. So you want to place them above the fold, within the content, at the end of pages, so that as people are scrolling, it's very easy for them to take that next step. You want to reduce friction. We've all encountered online forums that have way too many fields and they just look way too daunting to take that next step. Limit your form fields to make it easy for people to complete them and convert. And you want to make sure that you're using a mix of calls to action. You want to have direct calls to action that are those transactional buy now calls to action for people that are ready to do business. But the vast majority of people on your site, they're not ready. They're performing research, they're kicking tires, they just want to learn a little bit more about what it is that you have to offer. We want to also offer transitional calls to action that speak to the needs of prospects that are at the early stage of the buying cycle. So you want to offer calls to traditional calls to action like you see here on the right. Download guide and subscribe now are good examples of transitional, where request a quote and order now are direct calls to action. So your self-assessment. Do your calls to action clearly tell visitors what to do next? Or are you using generic language like learn more? Are your calls to action visually distinct with a strong contrast? Are they blending into the page or are they popping out, making it easy to notice and easy to take that next step? Are your calls to action placed in key locations throughout website pages, or are they just located in one section? Again, we want to have them throughout the website page so that people can see them as they're scrolling through your content. Do you use both direct and transitional calls to action that speak to the needs of people that are ready to do business now, but also to the vast number of people that are just performing research so that we can get them to convert so that you can build a marketing database? And do your calls to action create urgency or highlight a benefit that the customer will receive by taking advantage of it? Take a look at your calls to action, review them against a self-assessment, and improve them leveraging those fixes that I had mentioned. Okay, number 4. Your content is not customer focused. It may be too company focused. As I mentioned before, you don't want to talk about yourself on your website. You want to talk to the customer, provide customer focused content that speak to their needs, to the problems they're trying to solve, and provide them that solution to their problem. You don't want it to be all about you. You don't want it to be egocentric. You want it to be customer focused. So what are the symptoms if you have this problem? Well, you have a low engagement on your blog or on other strategic content on your site. People are just not going to those sections. Or if they're landing on those pages, they're not staying there very long. Again, your web analytics, Google Analytics will help you find that information. You're not getting leads. You're not getting those inbound inquiries. That means that there may be a problem with the content. So in addition to looking at the calls to action, leveraging the ideas that I mentioned before, take a look at the content on those pages. Perhaps it's not as customer focused as it should be. Content focuses on your company and not your customers, talks about features and not solutions. Here's some examples of some real company blogs that I've encountered that really are just breaking all of these key best practices. A title was Our Company's History in Industrial Pump Manufacturing. Well, that may be extremely interesting to the company, but not necessarily what a prospect is interested in. How we build the best industrial pumps? Well, certainly they want to know your manufacturing process, but it's not speaking to their specific problem. It's basically a brag piece where you're bragging about your manufacturing capabilities, not customer focused. They are company focused. If you're have few returning visitors, meaning that people come to your site once and they leave and they never come back, content's not valuable enough. They're not using your site as a resource. There wasn't anything there they found engaging enough to come back to. So that's a key symptom that your content is not customer focused. And if there's no clear next step, if you're taking a look at the content on your key pages, products and service pages, and there's no clear next step for that customer to take to solve their problem, you have an issue that you need to resolve. So let's talk about how to resolve them with our quick fixes. First, make that shift to customer-focused content. Think about the problems that your customers are encountering. What are the key pain points that are associated with each of those problems? And then what are the solutions that you provide, and how do you address each of those pain points? So you want to think very, very carefully about each of the customer segments that you serve. What are the key problems that they're trying to solve? What are the pain points? And then the solutions that align towards those pain points. That will be your guide when you're trying to create content for products and service pages, as well as other sections. You want to develop that cornerstone content. The cornerstone content is content that speaks directly to that customer problem through downloadable guides, case studies, facts, or well as blog posts. As you can see here, these customer focused blogs are much more impactful and speak directly to the customer's needs. Examples: 5 ways to extend the lifespan of your industrial pumps. Shows that you're an expert in industrial pumps, but you're giving that customer or that prospect useful information that they can put to work to extend the lifespan. How to reduce downtime with predictive maintenance. Another great title because you are addressing a common problem that a customer may have. They don't want downtime in their facility. So by providing this great blog post, you are helping them address how they can ensure that they're reducing that downtime. When you are writing your content, you want to use a conversational tone. Write as if you're sitting down and speaking to that prospect over a cup of coffee. Write the way you speak. One of the best practices that I like to leverage when I write is after I finish writing, I like to read it out loud. If it sounds the same way that it sounds if I were to be speaking with that person, it's great. If it doesn't, I make those tweaks. The more conversational your copy is in all the information that you're writing, the more engaging it will be and the more business building impact you will get from it. You want to incorporate video or other visuals. So don't just assume that all content that's on your site is going to be text, and then we'll have a couple of stock images that we're going to put out there just to make it look better. No, you want to make sure that you're incorporating strategic visuals, both video as well as images, infographics that are in the context of the content that you're presenting that make the point clearer to your customers. Video content is extremely effective because, as I mentioned before, many people are accessing your website from mobile phones, and it's difficult to read a website on a phone if it's not optimized well, but it's very easy to engage with a video. So look for opportunities where you can add video content to supplement your text-based content. And then getting back to our calls to action recommendation from before, take those calls to action and integrate them in various sections of the content and guide readers towards the next step. So if you have content that's about a specific, say a blog post about a specific topic, and you happen to have a how-to guide that goes into much greater detail, provide a call to action that sends people over to that guide that they can download. Okay, your self-assessment. for your content to see if it is customer focused and not company focused. Does it address your customers' common problems and solutions? Again, think about your customers. What are the common problems that they're trying to solve? What are their pain points? And are you addressing them directly? Do your blogs and resources answer those common questions that your customers have? Talk to your salespeople. Talk to your customer service people. What are the questions that they are getting most often when they're on these calls with customers? That's the content you should be creating for your website. It should be in blog posts. It could be in a frequently asked questions section. It could be integrated into your product and service pages themselves. So you want to answer your buyers' questions. The more helpful you are in answering those questions, the more engaging your site will be, the more trusted you will be, and the more leads and sales you'll generate as a result. Do your product descriptions focus on benefits, not just features? So again, speak to the result, the benefit that customers are going to receive. Is your content easy to read with short sections and bullets? Nobody reads website pages. They scan them first, and if it's engaging enough, they'll read a little bit deeper. So make sure that you're using bolded headings, sections of text, bullet points, bolded sections that are easy to scan, easy to read. The more scannable your website is and the content on your site, the more engaging and the more leads that you'll get as a result. And are you providing educational resources in addition to product and service information? You want to offer educational content like guides, frequently asked questions, case studies, educational blog posts. You want to show that you are a helpful resource for prospects. You're not just there to sell, sell, sell. You're there to educate as well. And you're turning your site into a resource center that people will visit often because it's extremely helpful. Very good. Number 5 for our website mistakes: poor lead capture mechanisms. So the lead capture mechanism is, how are we getting people to take that next step? How are we getting them to give up their basic contact information in order to get the value they're looking for? Well, you have a problem with this if you have few inbound leads. People are visiting your site and they're not taking action. So again, you can take a look at your web analytics, take a look at the key pages on your site. If you're not converting on those pages, there's a problem. Your lead capture mechanisms may not be working well. The calls to action may not be obvious. You want to make sure that you're fixing those. Limited form submissions. People are not filling out your online forms because there's some issue that you need to deal with. Your lead magnets, and a lead magnet is one of those transitional calls to action, like a downloadable how-to guide or a checklist or something of that nature. If they're not converting, people may not find them valuable. So if you're not getting downloads of your gated content is content that requires people to give up their basic contact information before they can access it. If people are not converting on those pages, there's an issue, and it's possibly your lead magnet is just not valuable. Your forms are too long or too complex. This is probably the biggest problem that I encounter most often. And I'm seeing it right here in this example on the right. The form's just way too long, and visitors will abandon it. Do you really need all this information from that prospect to have a consultation call? Do you need to know their city, state, their company name, their job title? You may need some of that information, but do you need all of it? And then do we need that gigantic statement about your privacy policy right in the form itself? And then a complicated little CAPTCHA that people need to complete to make sure that they're not a robot? Fine, you'll be protecting your inbox so that you're not getting spammed, but you also will not be getting leads because it's just way too complex. You want to make sure that they're much more streamlined. Or you may have no follow-up strategy. Perhaps these leads are hitting somebody's inbox, but you're not following up. You want to follow up as close to real time as possible when people are filling out those lead generation forms, because you want to be able to speak with that person while they're still on your website if possible. Then you can use your website as a presentation tool because you can interact with people directly. So you want to make sure you have a strong follow-up strategy so that leads are nurtured after the capture. So the quick fix is Make sure your lead magnets are valuable. Take a look at your blog posts that are most popular on your site, the educational content that you may be publishing that people are engaging with. They love it. That's a great source of ideas for things that you should be creating more valuable lead magnets on, downloadable guides. Again, ask your salespeople, what are the common questions that prospects are asking? Those ideas can be turned into lead magnets. Simplify your forms. Only ask for essential information, name, email, company, whatever you need to make an intelligent and educated follow-up. So you can see here, this is an example of a much more optimized form that will make it easy for people to take that next step. You offer a form more like this than the one I just showed you, you will get more leads from your website traffic. Use exit intent pop-ups. Pop-up forms are little pop-ups that will pop up in front of the web browser. Pop-ups kind of have a bad name. People don't like them generally, but I have to be honest with you, they do work. So I don't recommend that you have pop-ups that are jumping in front of people all the time, but if there's a key transitional call to action that you're offering, say for some educational guide or your email newsletter that people can subscribe to. Once they navigate to go to the address bar in their browser or start to navigate away from your site, it's okay to pop up a form there so that people can subscribe or download that lead magnet. People will engage with those pop-ups on the exit. Make your lead capture forms easy to find. A lot of times I'll encounter sites where they have a newsletter that you can sign up for, but the only form is buried in the footer of the site. You're losing out on an opportunity. Not that it shouldn't be there, but it should be other places as well. So put your calls to action and your forms in the sidebar, put them in the footer, put them in key sections of the site that are easy for people to find to take that next step. And then to make sure that we are following up on those leads, implement an automated follow-up if possible. I recommend that these leads do not just go to somebody's inbox, that you have either a marketing automation system like HubSpot or Pardot, or perhaps you have a CRM system like Salesforce. HubSpot as well also provides a great CRM. You want to get those inquiries into that system, assigned to the appropriate salesperson for follow-up. If they are early stage leads, people just wanted to access one of your educational guides, then you can kick them into an automated follow-up so that they're automatically receiving emails on a regular basis. So, to assess whether or not you have poor lead capture mechanisms, take a look at the forms that are on your site. Are they easy to find and easy to complete? If they are not, then fix them. Take a look at what fields you're asking people to complete and get rid of the ones that are not necessary. The more fields you put in front of people, the more you'll repel them. Shorten your forms, you'll get more leads. Are you offering valuable lead magnets? Take a look at the guides and the other lead magnets that you're offering. Are they engaging? Are people downloading them? If they're not, you need to improve them. Do you have clear action-driven calls to action that will speak to the action that you want people to take and that they want to take? Are your forms optimized for mobile? As I mentioned before, many people are visiting your site from mobile devices. You want to make sure it's easy for them to fill out your lead generation forms right from their mobile devices. And are you following up with leads promptly? If you do not have a CRM or Salesforce automation system or marketing automation system, I recommend you put one in place. Many of the packages I mentioned before, like HubSpot, they do offer free versions so that you can put something in place so these leads are not hitting somebody's inbox and getting lost. You want to make sure that you have a process in place to follow up these leads promptly. Okay, so those are the overall recommendations for your website, the fixes that will help you generate more leads. I want to switch gears now and take a deep dive into your homepage. Your homepage is the most visited page on your site. More people will visit your website homepage than any other page on your site. So you want to make sure that you are leveraging the best practices to convert more visitors into buyers. So your homepage needs to pass the 5-second test. And I really mean it's a 5-second test. There is a 5-second rule on your website's homepage. In the first 2 seconds, people will scan your website's homepage just to figure out what it is that you're all about. And if they don't find what they're looking for, they'll just be confused. 2 to 5 seconds, they start trying to figure out, well, what's your clear messaging? What's in it for them? Why should they engage further? Why should they spend time learning more about how your company can help them? And then beyond 5 seconds, if you don't answer those questions within that first 5 seconds, they're going to leave. They're confused. They'll leave. They'll go find another option. They'll go find a competitor. If you do engage them, they'll go deeper. And that's what we want. So you want to make sure that your homepage is passing that 5-second test. According to research, 75% of visitors judge a company's credibility based on its design, and the homepage is the page it's going to see first and most often. Make sure it's as engaging as possible. So what are the 3 mistakes that most companies are making on their homepage and the ones that you can fix fairly easily? Well, a weak hero section, weak or missing calls to action, or the homepage is slow loading or not mobile friendly. Okay, the hero section is the section that you see above the fold. And on the right-hand side here, you see an example of the hero section of this site. And this site, unfortunately, is committing one of the mistakes, having no clear customer-focused headline. It just does not speak to customers' problems. Their headline is Engineered Solutions, and their subheadline is Innovative, Practical, and Proven. I can't imagine a more generic headline and subheadline, because if you landed on this site within 5 seconds, would you know what it is that they do, how they can help you, or why you should engage deeper? It's just not addressing those key issues or those key problems that customers are looking to solve. So they are making that mistake. Weak or missing calls to action. This hero section does not have a call to action. A lot of space to put one along with the headline and subheadline, but nothing's there. They're relying on their contact us button at the top as their primary method of getting people to reach out. That's a weak call to action. You are going to miss out on lead generation opportunities if you commit this mistake. Perhaps you have a cluttered or overwhelming design. We don't have that case here. It's very simple, but some cases there's way too many options in the hero section, or there's a scrolling hero section where there are multiple windows that people can scroll through for that hero section. That used to be a best practice, but I don't think it is anymore. People want to know what it is that you have to offer quickly. They're not going to waste their 5 seconds scrolling through your various hero section banners. Present the most powerful one, the most impactful one that addresses customers' questions to take that next step. Inconsistent messaging. The words don't match what customers are looking for, and we see that example here. And there's generic or stock images. You could say that this is a bit of a generic image. We see these workers that are obviously on a site with their hard hats pointing at a facility. However, it's not really telling us specifically the product or service or the problems that they solve for customers. These are all issues that need to be addressed. How can you address it with these quick fixes? First, make sure that you have a clear, benefit-driven headline. This is a company in the same space as the example we saw before, and their headline is much more compelling and much more benefit-driven and speaking to the customer. Custom steel equipment engineered and fabricated with precision. So we know what they do and the reason that we should be interested in them. Offer a subheadline that reinforces your value. They offer a subheadline here. That they engineer and manufacture custom industrial process equipment from pressure vessels to air separators to reactor vessels. So we know a little bit more specifically how they can help. We have a strong call to action above the fold. Here you can see we're offering calls to action twice. In the hero section itself, people that are ready to do business, that direct call to action of get an estimate, or Perhaps they just have a question. They have a transitional call to action. Speak with an engineer so that they can schedule a call to get those pre-sales questions answered. And those calls to action are also offered in the header throughout the website as well. Offer those calls to action in a very obvious spot throughout your website and your website's homepage. You will get more people to reach out. And there's an engaging visual, not just showing generic images or stock photos. Show the product or service in action. Again, this background photo is more impactful because, again, it speaks to specifically what this company does. So take advantage of these quick fixes on your website's hero section. It's one small section of your homepage, but this will have such a huge impact on the leads that you're generating on your website. Second mistake is weak or missing calls to action, as I mentioned before. There's no primary call to action, so visitors don't know what action they need to take next. Here it's contact us, but again, it's not specific. Vague or weak call to action text like contact us or learn more does not work. You want to make sure that it is more specific to the action that prospects are looking to take. You want to make sure that it's placed in a consistent spot and very easy for people to find. So in the example that I showed before, the calls to action are presented in a consistent spot. You don't want to have too many competing calls to action. I'd like to see generally two, one that is a direct one speaking to buyers, and then the second one that is transitional, speaking to the tire kickers or the people performing research. And there's no urgency or value proposition. There's no reason for people to act now. So you want to make sure that you're providing that strong reason. Again, on the Dymar Tech website, they are taking advantage of best practices that I want you to by implementing these quick fixes. Have one clear primary call to action, that direct call to action that is bold and visually compelling, and use action-oriented text on those buttons. So as you can see here, we are offering that very clear primary call to action in a nice bold color, and then the action-oriented text in them. And then the calls to action are presented above the fold in both the header of the homepage as well as in the hero section. But as you can see here, these are other segments, key segments of this company's homepage. They're presenting those calls to action throughout the page. Depending on how many sections you have on a particular website page, you want to offer those calls to action throughout that page, because as people are scrolling, give them the ability to take that next step. And make sure that you're creating urgency. If possible, if there's a limited time offer that people can take advantage of, let them know. If there are low risk next steps they can take, let them know about that. It will get more people to reach out. And then the third mistake is that the site may not be mobile friendly. And you want to make sure your homepage, since it's the most visited page, is extremely friendly on mobile devices. Your site needs to load in 3 seconds or less. Visitors will bounce away if your website takes too long to load. If it's difficult to navigate on a mobile device, if the text is too small, the buttons are hard to tap, or the menus don't work, perhaps you may be using large images or unoptimized code that slow down the pages significantly, and visitors just drop off before engaging. If you look at your web analytics and you see bounce rates basically mean people that are leaving your website without doing anything, going any deeper. If the bounce rates are higher on mobile devices, then people are not able to learn what it is they're trying to learn. They're not able to take that next step, and you're losing out on opportunities. The example we see here on the right, again, it's not an optimized homepage for a mobile device. This one is much better. As you can see here, we're seeing our headline, we're seeing our subheadline, and our direct and transitional calls to action to get people to take that next step. So make sure that your website is optimized for fast loading speed. So this is a bit of a technical fix, but I want to give you some ideas on how you can go about this. There is a website called GT Metrics, GTMetrix, that will analyze your website and then give you a punch list of areas on your website that are causing it to load slowly. This is a nice list that you can hand off to your website developer so that they can enhance your website to make it load faster. Make sure that you're taking a mobile-first approach to your design. Make sure that it's designed well for mobile devices, and then make the appropriate changes for for desktop. If you're losing people on mobile devices, you're losing out on a significant number of leads. Simplify your navigation. It's perhaps your navigation is too complex and is not displaying well on mobile devices or could be getting in the way. And make sure you go about the process of testing your website on multiple devices. Test it on a desktop computer, test it on a laptop, test it on a mobile phone, test it on a tablet. Make sure that it is loading flawlessly on each of these devices so that it is an engaging experience for your visitors. So your self-assessment. Take a look at your headline on your homepage. Does it clearly communicate your value in 5 seconds? If not, rewrite it and take that customer-focused approach. Do you have strong calls to action above the fold? Again, I like them in the heroes section below the headline. Does your homepage load in under 3 seconds? If not, fix those issues. And again, GT Metrics can provide you with some great insight on the areas to fix. Is your homepage mobile friendly and easy to navigate? Take that mobile first approach towards designing your homepage. Do you guide visitors towards a clear next step? Do you make it easy for people to take that next step? So if you have problems on your homepage, if you're committing some of these mistakes, then take advantage of those recommendations to fix those mistakes and generate more leads. Okay, next. The calls to action that are on your site, do they convert more leads and sales? You want to make sure that you're creating ones that will do that. So it's important to know that only 5% of visitors that are on your website have a purchase intent in mind. They're ready to buy. They're trying to figure out if you're the right company to work with. So we want to engage them and get them to take that next step and reach out to you. But that means that 95% of your website visitors are not ready to buy. They're kicking tires, they're performing research, they have some question they're trying to answer. So when we are providing our calls to action, we want to provide those direct calls to action that speak to that 5%, but we want to make sure that we're offering calls to action that speak to the 95% as well, with transitional calls to action that will help you generate those inquiries, convert those anonymous visitors into named individuals that you can use for ongoing marketing and nurturing activities. So what makes a great call to action? Well, a great call to action has 5 key elements. First, it has a very high perceived value. It's worth it to your prospects. It's something that they want, and it's worth their time to fill out a form and reach out to you to take advantage of. And they do that because it is the second element, highly desirable. It's something that they actually want, that you have to offer. It's something that you're offering that is uniquely yours, differentiated from your competitors. So it's something that they can only get from you, and they want to make sure to take advantage of it when they're on your site. It's very easy to respond to. You want to make sure that you are offering short forms, as I mentioned before. Remove any unnecessary steps in the process to make it easy for people to take that next step. You want to make sure you're also minimizing the risk or obligation if it makes sense. If there's some heavy commitment that people need to commit to, they're not going to do it. If your call to action can minimize that risk in some way, do so, and you will get more people to fill out that form and take that next step. Okay, so here are some examples of very successful B2B calls to action that I am implementing with my clients, and they are getting a tremendous number of leads from. For those direct calls to action, request a quote. to generate leads for people that are looking for a quote on products. Schedule a consultation with a salesperson. Talk to an expert is another way of phrasing that same call to action. Again, they're going to be speaking with an educated salesperson, but you want to present it in a very compelling way. Perhaps you're selling a product that they can request a sample for so that they can test the goods before they actually commit to buying. Buy now if you have an e-commerce site or you're selling directly on your site, or download your product catalog so that people can see everything that you have to offer. These are all direct calls to action that let people take that next step if they're ready to buy, ready to do business. Now, the transitional calls to action for the 95% that are early stage people, number of things that you should do. Well, lead magnets, downloading a guide, how-to guide, educational guide that people can download, learn a lot from, be able to implement some of those ideas, but also you'll strengthen the fact that you are a very useful and helpful company for them through that educational guide. So providing download guide as a transitional call to action. Subscribe to our email newsletter is a great call to action. Get the free checklist. Register for our webinar. Read a case study or take a self-assessment. Self-assessments are fantastic. They're interactive tools that will allow people to diagnose a problem. You can get people to give up their basic contact information in order to take advantage of these. So when you're creating your calls to action, you want to have both direct and transitional ones. So your forms that are on your site, as I mentioned before, they need to be short and easy to complete. So as you can see here, this, believe it or not, is a real lead generation form for a technology consulting company near me, and they are expecting people to complete this form just to generate a lead. It's just a generic contact us page to begin with, but again, just for contact us, they're asking for so much information. To a prospect, this form looks as daunting as a tax return. Nobody wants to fill out all those forms. It's way too daunting. They're going to browse away and go find a competitor that's easier to do business with. So what you want to do is shorten your forms by eliminating the fields that are unnecessary. So for this particular form, we can get rid of the title. We can get rid of the department. We don't need their address necessarily or their city, state, zip. Phone number, yes. Email, yes. But we don't necessarily need their website address. And tell us about your interests. Well, I would rather see this on specific product and service pages on the site. But since this is just a generic contact us page, we need to know what they're interested in. But there's a better way that we can do this. By shortening these fields, we turn this tax return form into a much more easy to complete form. So again, the key idea here is shorten your forms so that you will generate more leads and inquiries. The more fields you've put in front of people, the more barriers you're putting in front of them, the fewer people that will take that next step. So the most important element of any form that's on your site, a lot of people will say, well, it's the email address. Well, it's the name or their company name. But the reality is the most important element of any form is the button. If people do not click that button, you are not getting that lead. And a lot of times people make the mistake of just offering a little gray button that says submit. And the fact of the matter is nobody wants to submit. I looked up the word submit in the dictionary, and submit means to surrender oneself to the authority or will of another. And by offering that submit button, you are communicating to that prospect, I don't know who you are, you don't know me, but I want you to submit to my authority and my will. You don't want to do that. You don't want to just leverage submit buttons that some programmer came up with because that's the next step to take on the form. Again, you want to offer buttons that speak to the action that that person is looking to take. You want to make sure the buttons are large. You want to make sure the buttons are colorful. If you are making sure that your buttons stand out and speak to the action that that prospect is looking to take, you will get more leads and inquiries on your website. But in addition to forms, you want to offer other ways for people to reach out to you. Other alternatives are offer a very obvious phone number. I like to see phone numbers generally in the header of your website. Depending on your company, for many of my clients, they are receiving at least as many phone calls, inbound phone calls, than they are people filling out online forms. So again, you want to make that phone number extremely obvious. To make it completely trackable, I recommend that you use services like CallRail, CallRail. What CallRail will do is put a mechanism in place so that you can track your inbound phone calls from your website visits. Also, you're able to track those phone calls down to the marketing activity that generated that visit. So extremely important. If you're going to be offering your phone number, we want to make sure that we're tracking our inbound phone calls so that we can close the loop on how we're getting our leads and inquiries, whether they're online or through the phone. In addition to the phone, you want to supplement your online forms with live chat. Many people like to initiate live chat because it's a nice hybrid in between the form and a phone number. With a form, people can remain somewhat anonymous. They fill out the form and submit it. However, they are assuming that it's going to take some amount of time. There's a lag before they will get a response. With a phone number, they'll get an immediate response, but they need to engage with a live person on the phone and speak with them, and not everyone's ready to do that. Live chat is a hybrid between the two. People can still remain somewhat anonymous, but they are getting a real-time response via live chat. Live chat has really undergone some significant enhancements recently through the use of AI. There are AI chat tools that you can integrate very easily into your website so that you can teach it everything about your company, everything about your website, and it can answer common questions that a customer has. They want to speak with a live person, they can quickly be routed over to a live person to speak with them, a salesperson, or they can schedule a call so that they can speak with that person. Or your live chat can be always manned by a live person all the time. And live chat doesn't have to be a 24-hour day, 7-day-a-week proposition. You can turn on live chat just when you are available to answer those inquiries. So you're in the office, you're available for live chat, you turn it on. You're not available, you turn it off. So live chat, there are standalone applications like Live Person. Marketing automation packages like HubSpot that I mentioned earlier, they have live chat capabilities. There are a number of tools that you can use for live chat. Key idea is that offer prospects a number of different ways to reach out to you, whether it's an online form, phone number, or live chat. You do this, you give them a number of different options. I guarantee you will get more leads and inquiries from your website visits. Okay, so the self-assessment for your calls to action and your lead capture. Do you have clear action-driven calls to action above the fold? Now, this is throughout your website. You want to make sure those calls to action are above the fold. So again, the example I showed earlier had those direct and transitional calls to action in the header in the right-hand section. Present them there. They'll be above the fold throughout your website, no matter where people are. Are your calls to action specific and value focused? Don't just have contact us as a call to action. Make sure that there is a specific value focused next step that people can take. Schedule a consultation, schedule a strategy session, whatever that would be. You want to make sure that you have a very specific and value focused next step for prospects to take. Offer both direct and transitional calls to action. Take a look. Are you only offering direct calls to action? If you are, you're missing out on the 95% of your website visitors that are just kicking tires or performing research. Even just one transitional call to action, just one great downloadable guide, you will get more leads from your existing website traffic. Are your calls to action buttons visually distinct and easy to click? You want to make sure that they pop out, that they are easy to notice and easy to understand. Are your lead capture forms short and simple and easy to fill out? As I mentioned before, the more fields you ask for, the fewer inquiries you will get. And are you offering multiple ways for people to take that next step in addition to forms, an obvious phone number and online chat? So if you are not leveraging a number of these best practices and making these mistakes, take advantage of those quick fixes so that you can generate more leads from your existing website traffic. Okay, now finally, the content that gets found and generates leads. Now, content and SEO, they work together to help you generate more leads and inquiries. This is not a technical discussion. I'm not going to go too deep into SEO. That will be the subject of one of my future masterclasses that is coming up, because AI has changed SEO dramatically, and I want to make sure you learn about that. So stay tuned. I'll be sending out an invitation for that shortly. But for now, let's just talk about the content and SEO factors that generate more leads. So the key idea here is that the SEO and content must work together. SEO helps you increase your visibility. So by having engaging content that buyers are searching for, that answer their key questions, that's bubbling up in front of them, it will improve your visibility. Your improved visibility will get more people to your site. Great content will engage them on your site and encourage them to take that next step to reach out. So by having great content, Google will reward you with a high ranking in the search results, which will get you more traffic and more visibility. Great content on your site will get you more engagement and will get you more leads. So the key idea with creating engaging content is understand what your prospects are searching for. Generally, people are searching to solve a problem. They're solving some business problem that they're experiencing. We want to make sure that we are providing content that address those specific problems. If your content doesn't address what people are searching on or address those problems, they're not going to find you. If they don't find you, they're not going to get to your site. If they don't get to your site, you're not getting those leads. So you don't necessarily have to be an SEO expert to get visits for this type of content. Just focus on using the words your customers use most often and integrate those phrases and those words into your content that you're creating. So what are some ways that you can uncover what your customers are searching for? Well, just think to yourself, ask your salespeople, what are the problems that your customers, what do they have? What are the common problems that they're facing? What are the words that they use when they describe your solutions or when they describe the problems that they're trying to overcome? And then ask your salespeople, what are the questions that your buyers ask most often before making a decision? If they're asking those questions commonly, you want to make sure that you're providing content that address those questions. So there are a number of free tools that you could take advantage of. There's also some paid tools. SEMrush is a tool that is a paid tool that you can take advantage of if you subscribe. SEMrush is the tool, but there's some free tools that you can leverage to perform some quick fixes. Take advantage of Google's AutoSuggest. As you see here on the right-hand side, what Google's AutoSuggest will do is if you type in any phrase, any product, any service, whatever that would be, Google will give you all the other variations on phrases that people are searching on. So these are potentially phrases that you want to integrate into the content that you're creating. Also, as you scroll down on a particular search result page on Google, you'll also see a section that says, people also ask. People also ask is a place where other common questions that people are searching on related to whatever that focus is, it'll give you those common questions and the answer. So again, those are great ideas for a content that you should be creating on your site to make it more engaging. Also, take a look at competitor websites. Take a look at their blog topics, their frequently asked questions. What are the questions that they're answering? Those will give you great ideas for what you should be doing. You want to make sure that you're creating cornerstone content. So start with those key questions that your buyers are asking. And cornerstone content are the content items, whether it's blog posts or downloadable guides, that will generate the most leads. They're your most valuable in-depth content that will rank well and attract those leads. So examples are, here we have the complete guide to selecting the right hydraulic pump, how to reduce downtime in your manufacturing line. These, if they are common questions that your customers are asking, great ideas for cornerstone content. And with that cornerstone content, you want to make sure that you're providing a strong related call to action, a transitional call to action that will get people to give up their basic contact information in order to download that valuable piece of content. So some quick writing tips for your cornerstone content, as well as all of the content that's on your site. You want to make sure that the headline matches your buyer's search intent. Again, answering the key question that your prospects are searching on. The title, the headline of your content is the most important element. If your headline does not address the key question your customer is trying to answer, you will not provide engaging content. So make sure your headline matches their search intent. As I mentioned before, make sure your content leverages a clear and scannable structure, short paragraphs, bullet points, bolded text, so that people can quickly see what it is that you're writing about, what it is that you're offering before they read in depth. You want to make sure you're answering the questions fully. Don't just provide fluff. You want clear, actionable steps. Give up your best practices. Do it until it hurts a little bit. The more valuable the information that you're providing on your site, the more engaging it will be, the more you will build trust with prospects, and the more people will reach out to you. So don't guard too much of your trade secrets. Give up some of that key information to show that you are the trusted partner that can help them. And then make sure that the transitional calls to action, that next step that you're providing on any content piece, there should be a logical next step. Whether it's a transitional call to action for downloading the full equipment and maintenance checklist guides in this example, or if it is a direct call to action, schedule a consultation, schedule a call. You want to make sure that you're providing people a next step so that your key content is not only engaging, it is helping you generate more leads and inquiries. So those are the key mistakes. Those are the quick fixes that you can make. Again, I tried to focus on areas that you can address so that you will generate more leads and inquiries without having to go through a complete website redesign. So you just spent the last hour going through this content with me. You learned a number of key best practices that I guarantee will work for you. Some of these ideas are very, very quick and simple. Some may take a little bit more time to implement, but they are all ideas that you can implement on your existing website. But ideas are only one thing. They are nothing if you do not act on them. So make sure you do something with this information. You are taking these best practices, you're taking these fixes, you're putting them into action so that you can start generating more leads and inquiries from your existing website. I want to make sure that your website turns into a lead generation machine that fuels your sales pipeline. So, this presentation went over a number of key best practices, but I want to make sure that you are building a digital marketing engine that drives leads and sales. So I want to provide you with a number of other resources. Well, first is the Essential Guide to B2B Lead Generation, which goes through a number of strategic best practices, next steps that you should take to turn your website into a lead generation machine. You can get this guide immediately just by going to the address on your screen or scanning the QR code. You can download this guide and start putting these ideas to work. In addition, you can schedule a free strategy call with me. I will provide you with everything you need to know to make sure that your website is a lead generation machine, that you have a strong digital marketing program in place, and make sure that you have the clear next steps that you should be taking as a business. To take advantage of this strategy call, just go to the address on your screen or scan the QR code that is there. This is not a sales pitch. This is not a sales call. This is an actionable work session where I will provide you with those key tips that you need to be more effective and generate more leads and sales. In addition, I am here to answer your questions, and I've received quite a number of questions during this presentation. If you have any additional ones, please feel free to submit them in the Q&A box on your screen. I will address them, but in the meantime, let's dig into what we have here. Okay, so the first question, when creating call to action buttons, is it worth going outside of brand-related colors to make the colorful buttons? I feel like in the past, this has seemed tacky to use eye-catching colors if their brand colors are more low-key. Okay, so should we use strong contrasting colors or should we stick with your brand palette? I know that this may not seem intuitive, but you want to go against your brand palette. Not that it needs to be horrific and just look out of place, but you want to make sure that your call to action buttons stand out. You want to make sure that they pop. So you want to use a complementing color that is an alternate color other than your brand palette so that it will stand out, so that it will jump off the page, so that it will stand out to that prospect. The more people that see that call to action button, the more people that will take that action and you will get that lead. Okay, second question is, how do you recommend going about implementing these tips when your company is both an online store as well as an engineered solution provider? How do you let people know in a very clear way that your company does both? Okay, well, I'm going to answer the second question first. The way that you let people know that you do both is that the two key sections of your site, one should be sales focused for your products that you have for sale. And I like it when products in an online catalog are organized in the navigation by category and subcategory, not offering too many options, making it easy for people to find what they're looking for, but also by brand. If you are a distributor selling multiple brands, products, you want to let people browse by brand, so category and brand. If you're providing solutions, engineered solutions, that should be another main navigation item that's on your site. And that section should talk specifically about those engineered solution services. So that's how you're getting people to those various sections. How do you get people to reach out? Well, excuse me, your online storefront should offer people the ability to place things into a cart and place that order. However, in a B2B online sales environment, according to research, only a third of people that are ready to buy from you can actually conduct a credit card transaction via an online shopping cart. The other 2/3, they need to perform business a different way. Maybe they need to request a quote because they want to negotiate better pricing, or their payment terms do not work with a credit card transaction. So you want to allow people to request a quote on those product pages or build a quote so that you can get those direct leads from people that are interested in your products but can't necessarily buy on the site, conduct the transaction on the site. For transitional calls to action, for the service areas, your direct call to action for service areas like your engineered solutions, those should be more service-based calls to action. So allow people to schedule a call with an engineer. Allow people to download a guide in a transitional call to action, some type of planning guide. So if it's an online store as well as service focused, you want to make sure it's easy to navigate to those clear sections, that you're providing the content that address what people are looking for, and you're making it easy for people to take that next step. Okay, next question is, how exactly do I figure out exactly what the friction within a page is? Okay, the way that you address this is by putting in place heat map tools. Heat map tool will basically track what people are doing on a website, and it will show you in the report a version of your website pages, and then where people are clicking on, the areas of your website, any one website page that people are looking at, how they're scrolling, places that they're clicking on and taking that next step. So heatmap.com is a great package, very affordable, very easy to implement on your site. That will let you know where friction may exist on specific website pages themselves. Let's see, do we have any others that are here? Oh, what is the best time to show the subscribe to our newsletter or download a guide pop-up? 15 seconds after someone lands on a page on your site or at the exit intent? Okay, this is a great question. This is about how to strategically use pop-ups without being annoying. I mentioned before that pop-ups are great as an exit intent one. So if people start navigating away from your site, that's a great time to show the pop-up for people to download a guide or subscribe to your email newsletter. So another way to leverage them that this question is asking is, as people are on your homepage and they haven't necessarily done anything, they haven't clicked on anything else, they haven't engaged with any other sections of your site, but they're on that page and they're reading it, you can test offering pop-ups that are either 7 seconds, I like to try 7 to 10 seconds after people have been on a page to show them that pop-up. Or as they start to scroll down the page, you can show the pop-up then. You want to make sure that you're putting that information in front of them, but you want to make sure that you're not annoying. So you might want to A/B test these methods for showing these pop-ups, because if you are being annoying, you're getting in the way of those leads. So try different alternatives for the best way to show them to get more people engaged. Okay, next question. Is it better to write fewer high-quality blog posts or more frequent, shorter ones? Good question. There's no really clear answer to that other than just thinking that quality beats quantity. So if you can create high quality short blog posts or high quality long form ones, that's fine. Create all that you can. But don't feel you have to have a lot of different blog articles that are on your site if they're not engaging your visitors. If customers are not reading them, customers are not interacting with them. You want to make sure that your blog content is as engaging as possible so that you can get people to take that next step. How do I balance design and performance so that my site looks great, but also converts? Here, what you want to do is make sure that your website designer is not taking too creative an approach towards designing your site. If your site has too many animations going on, too many things flying in and out, too many distracting elements that are on your site, you're losing out on business opportunities. You want to make sure that your website design prioritizes clarity and usability over fancy animation and fancy design. So a clean, fast-loading website that has strong messaging and strong calls to action will get more leads and inquiries than a website that just is a fantastic looking design project, but just not resonating well with customers. Very good. Those are the questions that we have. If you have any others, please feel free to continue to submit them. I will address them. This presentation, I focus on the key quick fixes that you can make to your existing website. There are so many different ideas and so many different best practices that you can leverage to generate more leads and sales from your website traffic, and ways that you can be more effective in every aspect of your industrial marketing program. That's the value of the free strategy call. I will be focusing not only on the ideas that I talked about here, but everything that needs to be in place for a very high-functioning, high-value industrial marketing program, and I will make sure it's tailored to your specific needs. So please feel free to take advantage of this strategy call and take advantage of this downloadable guide if you want ideas that you can put in place to turn your website into more of a lead generation machine. I love providing you with ideas and best practices that you can implement immediately, and that's why this Industrial Marketing Masterclass series exists. On a monthly basis, I will be covering all the key topics that you need to implement to be effective, and AI is changing the game in every aspect of marketing. So be sure to tune in to future webinars and future masterclasses that I will be sending out to you. Very good. Any other questions? Going once, going twice? Okay, I want to thank you for your time today. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me after the webinar. Take advantage of the items that are on the screen here, and I look forward to seeing you on a future masterclass. Thank you for your time.